For 2 decades, Matt Lauer woke up America. As co-anchor of NBC's Today Show, he was one of the most recognizable faces in television, earning a reported $20 to $25 million a year and welcoming millions of viewers into their living rooms every single morning. He interviewed presidents, sat across from world leaders, and covered some of the biggest stories of a generation. Then, in a single morning in November 2017, it was all gone. Within hours, he was fired. His name was attached to one of the most damaging scandals in television history, and the career he had spent 30 years building collapsed completely. This is the story of how Matt Lauer rose to the top of American media, what really happened behind the scenes at NBC, and where he is today. Matt Lauer was born on December 30th, 1957, in New York City. His father worked in the bicycle industry, and his mother had a background in modeling, which gave young Matt an early window into both a disciplined work ethic and the world of image and presentation. It was an unusual combination, and it shaped the kind of broadcaster he would eventually become: polished, comfortable in front of the camera, but also someone who understood the value of hard work. In the late 1970s, Lauer enrolled at Ohio University to study communications. But in 1979, at just 21 years old, he made a decision that surprised a lot of people. He left school 4 credits short of graduating to take a job as a news producer at a television station in Huntington, West Virginia. It wasn't a glamorous job, and it certainly wasn't national television, but it was a foot in the door. Within a year, he had worked his way in front of the camera as an on-air reporter, anchoring both the early evening and late-night newscasts in a mid-size market while he was still in his early 20s. From there, Lauer's career took him through a string of local television jobs in several different cities. Between 1980 and 1986, he co-hosted the lifestyle program PM Magazine in Richmond, Providence, and finally New York City, adjusting his style for each new market along the way. In 1986, he got his first national platform, co-hosting the ABC entertainment program Fame, Fortune, and Romance, alongside Robin Leach of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous fame. The show didn't last long, but it put Lauer's face in front of a national audience for the first time. The years that followed were a grind. From 1987 to 1989, he juggled hosting jobs in Philadelphia and Boston, while also picking up assignments for ESPN and HBO, covering everything from the Stanley Cup Finals to entertainment specials. He then spent 2 years on a New York talk program that pushed toward increasingly outrageous content, and Lauer eventually walked away from it rather than go further down that road. By 1992, with no steady job, he was hired by WNBC in New York to co-anchor a local morning broadcast. It was a modest gig, but it kept him close to the network, and within a year he was also anchoring the station's evening newscast, sometimes appearing on multiple NBC programs in the same day. That work ethic did not go unnoticed inside NBC. Over the next several years, Lauer became the network's reliable utility player, filling in wherever he was needed, including occasional stints on NBC Nightly News. That reliability built trust with NBC executives, and in January 1994, he was named the full-time news anchor of Today. 6 months later, on June 13, 1994, he officially stepped into the role. The show was losing ground to Good Morning America at the time, and NBC was looking for someone who could connect with viewers in a more natural, relaxed way. Lauer fit the bill. Over the next several years, he helped stabilize and eventually grow the show's audience, building strong on-screen chemistry, first with Brian Gumbel and later with Katie Couric, whose easy rapport with Lauer became one of the defining dynamics of the show. Lauer also proved he could handle serious news, not just morning show banter. He was on air for major events including the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995 and extensive coverage of the O.J. Simpson trial, and he later anchored breaking coverage of events like the September 11th attacks. On January 6, 1997, he was officially promoted to co-anchor of Today, taking over the chair long held by Gumbel. That same year, he also became a contributing anchor for Dateline NBC, a role he would hold for 2 decades, giving him a presence in both morning and primetime programming, which was rare for a single personality at the network. In an interesting personal footnote to his career, Lauer went back to Ohio University in 1997 to finally complete the credits he was missing for his degree, writing a paper connecting his television career to what he had studied. He walked at commencement that year with the graduating class, nearly 2 decades after he had originally planned to. 2 years later, the university's Alumni Association recognized him with its Medal of Merit. In July 1997, Lauer met Dutch model Annette Roque on a blind date. The relationship moved quickly. They married just over a year later, on October 3, 1998, in Bridgehampton, New York. Roque had built a modeling career in Paris and New York, working under the name Jade, and the marriage drew significant media attention, pairing one of America's most visible TV personalities with an international fashion model. The couple had 3 children together: Jack, born in 2001, Romy, born in 2003, and Tejas, born in 2006. From the outside, the family appeared to be the picture of stability, regularly photographed at school events and equestrian competitions. But the marriage faced real strain. In 2006, while pregnant with their 3rd child, Roque filed for divorce, reportedly citing emotional distress and controlling behavior. Just weeks later, she withdrew the petition, and the couple chose to stay together and work through their issues. For the following decade, they remained publicly married, raising their children together, even as friends would later describe a relationship that had grown distant behind the scenes. The events that would ultimately end Matt Lauer's career trace back to the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. According to allegations that surfaced years later, a young NBC employee named Brooke Nevels said that Lauer sexually assaulted her in his hotel room during the games. Her account did not become public at the time. It stayed private until journalist Ronan Farrow detailed it in his 2019 book Catch and Kill, which examined a broader pattern of suppressed sexual misconduct allegations in media. Lauer has firmly denied the most serious characterization of the encounter, maintaining that what happened between them was consensual, though inappropriate given his position at the network. Nevels' account and Lauer's denial remain in direct conflict, and that encounter was never the subject of a criminal prosecution. What set the public unraveling in motion was a separate complaint NBC received in November 2017. On November 29, 2017, less than 24 hours after receiving that report, NBC terminated Lauer's contract. The decision came together so quickly that his longtime co-anchors, Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb, reportedly learned the news only shortly before they had to announce it live on air. Viewers watched as 2 visibly shaken colleagues delivered the news that, after more than 2 decades, Lauer was gone. Within days, additional women came forward describing their own experiences of harassment, suggesting a pattern that had gone on for years rather than an isolated incident. Variety published an investigation citing numerous current and former NBC employees, who described a workplace culture in which complaints about Lauer's behavior had reportedly circulated for years without serious consequences. Among the details reported was that Lauer's office contained a button that could lock the door remotely, which several sources said made colleagues uneasy about being alone with him. NBC has said the mechanism was a standard security feature found in a number of executive offices at the network, not something installed specifically for Lauer. NBC's leadership stated that Lauer's termination was for cause, meaning the network declined to pay out the remainder of his contract, which had been worth roughly $20 million a year. In a memo to staff, NBC's then chairman Andy Lack said Lauer had violated the company's standards of conduct and that the network believed this was not an isolated incident. In the months that followed, questions emerged about how much network management had known over the years and whether complaints had been adequately addressed. NBC commissioned an outside investigation into its broader culture and subsequently updated its internal policies on reporting and handling misconduct. The fallout from the scandal extended well beyond Lauer's career. His marriage to Annette Roque, which had endured a near divorce a decade earlier, did not survive this time. Roque separated from him almost immediately after the allegations became public, and the couple's divorce was finalized in September 2019, after nearly 2 years of proceedings. Reports at the time indicated Lauer agreed to largely accept the terms Roque sought, including a substantial financial settlement and her ownership of the family's horse farm in Watermill, New York, which the two had continued to co-manage. The couple shares custody of their 3 children, and by most accounts they have maintained a relatively peaceful co-parenting arrangement since. The publication of Catch and Kill in October 2019 reignited public attention on the scandal, this time placing Lauer at the center of a larger conversation about how powerful men in media have been protected for years by the institutions around them. Lauer broke his public silence after the book's release, denying the most serious allegation and criticizing what he described as one-sided reporting, while acknowledging that he had made serious mistakes. The response did little to change public opinion, and Farrow stood by his reporting. In the years since, Lauer has largely disappeared from public life. He retreated to Strongheart Manor, the sprawling waterfront estate in North Haven, New York, that he purchased from actor Richard Gere in 2016 for $36.5 million. The 12-bedroom, 12-bathroom property includes a private dock, a tea house, and a heated pool, and it became Lauer's refuge in the immediate aftermath of his firing. He listed the estate for sale in 2019 for nearly $44 million, but it took several years and multiple price reductions before it finally sold in 2022 for $40.9 million. He has retained other properties, including a home in Sag Harbor and a large ranch in New Zealand, a country he has visited frequently and where his children have spent significant time. Financially, Lauer has remained comfortable despite the collapse of his television career and the cost of his divorce settlement. Various estimates have placed his net worth at roughly $80 million in recent years, a fraction of his earning power at the height of his Today tenure, but still a substantial fortune built over 3 decades in broadcasting. He has not returned to television, hosted a podcast, or pursued any major public-facing project since his firing, a sharp contrast to some other media figures who have attempted comeback projects after public falls from grace. As of the mid-2020s, Lauer continues to split his time between his properties in the Hamptons and trips to New Zealand. People who have spotted him locally describe a much quieter version of the man who once anchored one of the most watched programs on American television, running errands and spending time with his now adult and teenage children rather than appearing at industry events or red carpets. Friends have said that after a period of near total isolation in the years immediately following his firing, he has gradually reconnected with parts of his old social circle. He has also moved on personally. Reports beginning around 2019 link Lauer to Shaman Abbas, a businesswoman the two had reportedly known for years before their relationship became public. The two have largely kept their relationship out of the spotlight, occasionally appearing together at low-key events, but generally avoiding the kind of media exposure that once defined Lauer's daily life. There's been no indication of any attempt by Lauer to return to broadcasting, and NBC has shown no interest in revisiting the relationship. The scandal remains one of the most significant in television history, not only because of Lauer's stature at the time, but because of what it revealed about the culture at NBC and the broader entertainment industry during the height of the #MeToo movement. For a man who once represented stability and trust of millions of American households every morning, the past several years have been defined instead by silence, scrutiny, and a long, quiet retreat from the spotlight he spent 30 years building a career inside. Today, Matt Lauer is neither the celebrated anchor he once was nor the constant tabloid presence he became in the immediate aftermath of his firing. He is something closer to a cautionary footnote, a reminder of how quickly a decades-long career can collapse, and of how the institutions that built someone up can just as quickly decide they no longer want anything to do with him. Whether that quiet life in the Hamptons and New Zealand represents genuine reflection, or simply the most comfortable available option for a man with $80 million and nowhere left to perform, is something only Lauer himself can really answer.